If you had the opportunity to change some things about your younger self and now that you're in your older self, what would you actually say to your younger self? Would you do something better? Would you completely just change something that maybe altered your life? What would you change? My Old Ass, it answers that question and stars Aubrey Plaza. But how does it fare and did I like it? Well, stick around and let's talk about it. An 18th birthday mushroom trip brings free-spirited Elliott face-to-face with her wisecracking 39-year-old self. But when Elliott's old ass starts handing out warnings about what her younger self should and shouldn't do, Elliott realizes she has to rethink everything about family, love, and what's becoming a transformative summer. The film stars Maisy Stella, Aubrey Plaza, Percy Hynes White, Maddie Ziegler, and Kerrice Brooks, and was directed by Megan Park, and she's done one other film I've seen before. That film was called The Fallout, which I wasn't a fan of. Coming of age films, I'm always really ready to watch, and My Old Ass was another film added to the list that I really wanted to check out. Usually these types of films, they're usually indie films, they're usually not big money makers, and Aubrey Plaza actually being in this film after watching the trailer, which I never saw a trailer for this actually in the theater, actually just watched it online and saw that it was coming to theaters finally, and I really wanted to check it out mainly because of Aubrey Plaza. Now I do like the setting here. It has that summer vibe. It definitely feels like a summer type of movie. You know, you're out on this lake, you have this girl named Elliott who's hanging out with her friends. They're just riding around in this boat, just hanging out on this lake, and they actually go camping and they have a mushroom trip in which you have Aubrey Plaza who appears, and she is the older self of Elliott and giving her advice as to what she should do with her life. Now, Elliott is 18 years old, and Aubrey Plaza plays a character that is 39 years old. She tells her different ways and just is very wise and obviously trying to tell her certain things. Like she wants her to stay away from this boy named Chad, and she just tells her certain things that she shouldn't do, and she's going to be there, for her during these times. And Aubrey Plaza, they bond a little bit towards the beginning of the film, in which Aubrey Plaza, she ends up disappearing later on in the film. And that was a little bit disappointing to me because I really wanted to see Aubrey Plaza a lot more in this film, but she's really only in this film probably about 15 to 20 minutes max of the 90-minute runtime of this film. Elliott as a character, I think that she has a lot of dilemmas here. Obviously, she's really just deliberating her sexuality. She's really much into girls, but then she's also liking this boy named Chad, who obviously Aubrey Plaza actually warns her about and says, hey, you should stay away from him, he's just not right for you. And there's reasons for that as that is revealed later on in the film. There's plenty of nature shots in this film. There's a lot of shots on the lake when Elliott is by herself on the boat and when she's also with friends or when she's actually with Chad, the boy that she's actually crushing on. They have this really cute little bridge that they go under and they have to duck their head on before they actually get hit with the bridge, which was a really funny little scene. And the comedy in here, it's kind of spread out a little bit. I do think at times the comedy lands in certain points, but then it doesn't in other points. In my audience, I had about 15 people in my audience. I don't think the comedy was really working for them. I didn't hear anybody really laughing. I heard people maybe talking amongst themselves in between scenes, but I didn't really hear too much chuckling in this film. And I think that's really where it's going to really depend with this film, because I have seen a lot of top-notch reviews for this film, and it seems more so that the messaging really hits home. And I do agree that the messaging here is very strong. Like, what would you actually say to your younger self? Would you change certain things? I know for me, I have some things that I would want to change, from my past, and I think you shouldn't really dwell on that. But sometimes, when you're older and you can think of things that you did when you were younger that was really stupid, you obviously are wiser. A lot of those things have kind of make you grow as a person, and that's really what the dilemma here is in this film, because Aubrey Plaza, the fact that she is older and she's giving all this advice to her younger self, I can definitely relate to that, because obviously you see the younger generation now that you're older, and me, I'm in my mid 30s at this point, and there's some advice that I would want to give people that are in their 20s now, certain things that they should actually prepare for. But sometimes I think there is a difference in just how different individuals think, and mainly because I think in this film there's a dilemma of, should you just go for something now and then, and should you not really think about the future? or should you think about the future and really be a little bit cautious in your decision making? So there is dilemma within the film with that aspect. I do think, though, the main character, Elliott, I don't really think she has a lot of dilemma other than those decisions, and then obviously the fact of this guy that she likes, and then her sexuality. But then they brought in the family aspect, and they brought in the fact that Aubrey Plaza says to her, hey, you should hang out with the family, enjoy the experience and stuff with your actual family. Like, she actually bonds with her brother and goes golfing and talks to him and gets to know him a little bit more because he wants to actually take over the farm. And then she has her mom and dad and she wants to bond with them. But I never really felt like she had friction with the mom and dad. There's a lot of times where she mentions where she's actually going to leave, and I thought, you don't really have that bad of a life. Why do you actually want to leave your family? It's not like they treat you bad. I understand sometimes, like, when you're at that age, you may have some differences between your parents or brother and sister, and it's not the best home life. So I can understand wanting to escape from that, but I never really felt like she needed to escape from that. I felt like she had a pretty good life. She had a few little dilemmas here and there, but she seemed like she had a pretty decent amount of friends, and she seemed like everything was really going pretty good for her. There isn't a lot of music in this film. Matter of fact, most of the time when there is music, it's just little snippets of like a song, and then it kind of just goes away. It doesn't really do a whole lot for the film, but there's certain little scenes where they'll have like a little tune here or there, but it's nothing really memorable. There's nothing where I was like, oh man, I definitely have to go back and revisit this soundtrack. So I think overall the music is just, it's there when it needs to be there. I mean, maybe there could have been a little bit more, but I think because a lot of this film is very dialogue driven, and obviously characters that are really having different dilemmas within themselves and just having different relationships as well, I don't really think that there is a need for a lot of music in this film. When it comes down to it, for me, I have seen obviously a lot of really good scores for this film, and I think I'm in the middle for this film. And the reason why I say that is because, have you ever watched a genre and you've watched so many of them that they kind of just seem to blend all in together after a while? That's kind of how I feel about this film. Is I've seen a lot of movies like this, but at the same time I think there are other movies that are done better, but at the same time I can't really pinpoint anything that's really bad about this film. It just isn't a film that necessarily where I'm like, I have to rush out to watch this again. But I wouldn't say to not watch this film, because I do think it has some very strong messaging, and if you like coming of age films, I do think that you'll enjoy this film. The comedy aspect, that may vary from person to person, but I do think that there is some dilemmas, especially if somebody is like a 20-year-old and they're watching this movie, they're really going to relate to this younger character. Now that I think I'm older and wiser and I'm more of Aubrey Plaza's character, I think because I can't really connect any more to that younger character, and I'm not really in that stage in my life, maybe I don't have as much of a connection to that character as much. On the flip side of that, though, Aubrey Plaza, I can obviously relate to her character because I'm not that far off in age from her character's age in here, because she's 39, I'm 35, so that really makes sense of me actually relating to her character. But at the same time, she's not in the film that much, so I really don't get that side of the film, because mostly this film is really following this 18-year-old girl. She's obviously just going through a lot of different things in which she's trying to make the right decisions for herself, and then she's also trying to make the best of her time as well. So as far as the score for this film, I would give it a 2.5 out of 5. An okay watch. I do think that people are definitely giving this a lot of praise and loving it, and that's great, because I can't really blame anybody that would give this a really top-notch score, and if you could definitely relate to it, I could definitely understand as well. So that's my thoughts on My Old Ass. What did you guys think about this film? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you just think it was kind of meh? And if you haven't checked it out yet, are you going to check it out when it comes to VOD or streaming? Also, what is your favorite Aubrey Plaza film? Leave any and all comments down below, and thank you guys for watching.